Hello there, my name's Angela, and Explore Churches, that's the tourism wing of the National Churches Trust, have asked me to make these series of videos about making videos of churches. Hopefully, with the tips I'm going to share with you today, you'll be able to make better videos of your church and get people exploring your church. Underneath each video, you will find links which will take you to any gadgets that I recommend, any software that I recommend, and any videos by other people and organisations that I want you to watch for inspiration. The advice I give with all my training sessions is if you want to know how to do a specific thing with your specific make and model, type that make and model into Google along with the question. But not only that, make sure that you're searching Google for the very latest articles, and it's easy to do that if you know how. The same if you're looking for a YouTube tutorial, be very specific in the make and model of your camera or phone, and using the filter button, which is not easy to find but it's on there. You can also make sure that you're searching for the latest videos, and you can also look for the most popular videos to make sure that they're high quality. One of the first questions you might have is, why should I make a video of my church? And there are actually several very good reasons for doing so. Firstly, the most used search engine on the planet is Google, as you probably know. But the second most used search engine is YouTube. People really do want to see information in that visual form, and if they're planning to visit somewhere, they will often look on YouTube for videos of the location to decide if they really want to visit. The second reason why video is a very good method of promoting your church is Facebook, which is by far the most used social media platform. Something like 70% of online adults are using it. They prioritise video content over any other, so if you upload a video of your church onto Facebook, it's going to be seen by a lot more people than if you upload text or if you upload a photo and text. The final reason why you should consider video for promoting your church is how accessible this medium is. If you present your church with content that's mostly text, that will put a lot of people off reading it. Even a mix of photography and text can put people off. But a video is welcomed by almost all that potential audience. So we're not saying don't do the pamphlets, we're saying add video to the mix and reach the widest audience possible for the information about your church. Another reason why you can now take a video of your church is the amazing potential of smartphones. They can take superb videos of a building, and with free online editing software, you can soon have an exceptional video of your church with a little bit of practice and a little bit of know-how, which we're going to give you in this video. Your finished video can be uploaded to YouTube, obviously. Also, you can post it on the Facebook page. If your church or your church group has a Facebook page, you can upload it direct to there. Also, when your video is on YouTube, you can grab code from it to embed into your website. So once you've made that video, there's lots of places online that you can use it. In these training videos, we're going to take you from very simple ideas through to fairly complex editing. The one message I want you to understand is that I really want you to start with baby steps, start with something very simple and get confident that before you move on to the more complicated stuff. And when I say baby steps, I mean something like a simple 30-second, 1 minute talking to camera piece about a certain object, for example. No requirement for editing, no requirement for a script. So you could hold the phone yourself and talk to it about an object in a church, or you could obviously get a friend to hold the phone pointing at you. There are lots of examples of videos like this online where somebody just simply talks to camera about a wonderful object and no editing is required. So that's what I want you to aim for first, and then move on to the more complicated things. We are assuming that you're going to be using your videos on YouTube and on your website and on perhaps other social media platforms. YouTube works best with videos that are taken in landscape format, which is this way around. So for that reason, we are going to recommend that you shoot your videos in this format, landscape, not portrait. This will also work better with the video editing apps that we are recommending. My first advice to you is, if you're planning a photo shoot, to make sure that you have all the power available to you, quite literally. So take lots of batteries, if that's what your camera uses, and lots of spares. If your battery is rechargeable like this one, make sure it's absolutely fully charged, and even bring the charger with you so that you can recharge on the day and have a spare. Obviously, if you're using your phone, again, bring your charger with you. Video uses a huge amount of power and you'll soon find yourself needing to recharge during the shoot. Another practical tip that's very easy to overlook is to make sure that your camera roll on your phone or your card in your camera is empty so that you've got plenty of room to take that video. One of the ways you can spot a video has been taken by an amateur is there may be quite a lot of shake in the picture. So how do you avoid this? Well, perhaps the most obvious and simplest and cheapest way of doing this is to hold yourself very steady. So make your body more like a tripod. So put your feet a hips width apart, tuck your elbows in so that you're nice and sturdy in yourself. And then with the landscape view, obviously you can do this. You can see perfectly well through your phone window to see what's going on. If you try and do videos like this, that's when you start to get problems from camera shake. So it's definitely very important to, when you're holding your phone or camera, to hold it as steadily as you can. But the cost of tripods is not very high, so it may be worth investing in a small tripod that's designed for your phone or your camera. Also available now, there are Gorilla tripods which have legs that wrap around pole surfaces. So you can place them on, for example, the arm of a chair in your church, and it'll be very fixed to that point, and then you can talk to it from that position. Sound quality is also a huge part of making a video feel professional. So my first advice on this is, if your church is near a road, particularly a main road, don't film in rush hour because that noise will be picked up in the background of the video. Also, if when you're filming you hear a noisy motorbike or an ambulance going past, stop and abandon that take and do it again. We naturally tune out those kinds of noises, but when you're making a video you need to tune back in and watch for them and make sure they don't ruin the take. If you really want to get a more professional feel to the sound in your videos, basic microphones are available and they are quite affordable. Some are designed specifically for smartphone models, making them easily accessible to you, and they will just boost the sound quality for you rather than using the inbuilt microphone. It's really important when you take your video footage that you keep your image straight, so you don't have a wonky horizon or you don't have a church door that's slightly off-centre, unless it is naturally because it's a very old building. The way to do this is through your phone and your camera. You will have a grid built in with 9 squares that create vertical and horizontal lines for you to make sure that the image you're seeing is actually truly vertical or horizontal. So looking at the viewfinder in my phone here, you can see that it's got those little tiny white lines that I can line up with the pillars in this church to make sure that the view that I'm getting, the footage that I'm getting, is properly straight. The trick is to pick a dominant line in the image that you're looking at, so a dominant horizontal or vertical, and line your phone screen up with that. I'm now going to talk to you about lighting. If you're making this video for tourism purposes, which I expect will be a big part of what you're doing, obviously it's going to be great to wait for a nice sunny day, preferably in spring, summertime, when your church and churchyard are going to look fantastic. If you are videoing a person or an object, ideally sunlight should be behind you so that it falls nicely onto the person. But do make sure that your own shadow isn't cast into the image that you're taking. Another good point to mention is that if you put the sun behind a person, your camera is going to really struggle to light their face, and they may end up looking like they're in silhouette. So try to avoid putting the sun behind the person that you are videoing. Again, when people are talking to camera, side light can be very flattering for them. Also, if you have dappled shade in your graveyard, that can also make a very flattering, very typical British summertime light. When filming inside your church, obviously turn the church lights on to brighten up that interior. Again, if you can wait for a sunny day outside, that will help with the light coming in through the windows. Again, if you're filming people or objects that can be moved, it will be good to move them into a position where the light is falling on them so they're beautiful and brightly lit. You've got a whole day that you can work at. So if you know, say, that in mid-morning the light falls beautifully on a certain carving in your church, make sure you're there to get that moment. So don't forget that at different times of the day, the light coming into your church will be different and will highlight the different features. So make use of that. If you want to boost the light, particularly on a person who's talking in a darker area of your church, you can use a white blanket slightly held off camera to reflect light onto them, and that will just boost the light in the immediate area around them as long as it doesn't get into shot. So when you're taking video, it's very important that the camera knows where you want to focus and what part of the view that you want to expose for. It's very easy to do this, but a lot of people don't realise this facility is built into their phones and cameras. So what you do, so this view here, we have quite a light and dark area, is you tap on the screen to say, okay, I want this video to focus and light for this part of the room, or I want it to focus on the window, or at some point in the middle. So this square tells me that's where I have told the camera it wants to focus and expose for. You can also tap the screen and slightly adjust the lighting by going up and down. You can also tap the screen and hold, and then the focus and the exposure will be set for that candlestick there, even if you move left and right. With traditional DSLR cameras, this screen tapping effect is usually achieved by half pressing the shutter, and that tells the camera and fixes the camera on where to expose and focus. So before you start shooting your video, it's really important to check there's no background clutter in the shot. Outside your church, there might be a wheelie bin that doesn't look so church-like. Inside, there might be some rubbish left in the corner. When you're familiar with a building or a place, you often don't see these things. So try to look with fresh eyes and get rid of that clutter before you shoot your video. And when you're videoing a person, in the background, try to have something that subtly says church or chapel, such as a stained glass window in the distance, or perhaps a churchyard. So that even when somebody glances at the video or sees the thumbnail on YouTube, they think, oh yes, that's somebody talking about a church. And if that's what they're into, then they're more likely to click play. When planning your day's photography, expect and be prepared to do several takes to get the one that you really want, or even several takes to experiment with different angles to see which one works best. This may mean that the people in your video have to pour a cup of tea 10 times, but it's well worth it to get the perfect shot rather than having to redo it again on another day. Photographs, that is still images, can be used in your videos, can be imported into the editing software to expand the images that you show during the videos. You can zoom in, you can pan across these images just to make your overall video longer and more interesting. So if you have some lovely photos of your church, don't be worried, you can use them. You may find some fantastic images online of your church that have been taken perhaps by a professional photographer. If you want to use those, you must find the person that took those photographs, message them through the internet, and get permission to use those photos in your video or on your website. If you explain to the person that you are making a video of your church and you are a non-profit organisation, so this is not commercial use, it's likely they will allow you to use those images if you credit them as the photographer. Google does allow you to search for images that are free for non-commercial use, which is a great way of supplementing your video or any publicity. The way to do this is to put your church's very specific name and location into Google, and then click on images, and then click on tools, and then click on usage rights. And then when you see the drop-down menu for usage rights, you'll see non-commercial use. And that will bring up all the images from places like Flickr and Creative Commons, which have been earmarked as available for non-commercial use. Usually in these situations, you do still have to credit the photographer and explain the license with which you've been granted use of that photograph. Adding music to videos often brings everything together and can really set the mood straight away. Commercial music is incredibly expensive to use. We're talking thousands of pounds for the permission to use popular songs. The way around this is, well, firstly, lots of editing software has music built in that would be appropriate for the message you're trying to get across, such as a sacred building or a fun day out. Aside from that, there are several websites which offer royalty-free music. This may be free to use, especially for non-commercial uses, or you may be paying a very small fee to use that music. So they're a fantastic resource that you should check out. The way to find those sites is to search Google for royalty-free music. As a church, you probably have a CCLI license. This allows you to use music in a fair way within your church setting. We recommend you go to the CCLI website and check out how your church's license affects the use of music in a video. We also recommend that anyone that appears in your video signs a model release form on behalf of themselves or their children to say that they're happy to appear in the video, and you also need to explain where the video is going to be used before they give that consent. Explore Churches will post a link to a model release form with this video for you to download and customise for your church. Obviously, you can ask in advance your congregation and the people that naturally support your church so they can pre-approve their consent, so you don't have to get it en masse the day you're doing your video shooting.